It has been more than 2 months since Pierre Poilievre lost his seat, leaving the Conservatives to challenge Prime Minister Mark Carney in Parliament without their leader. But a path has officially opened up for the Conservative leader to have his House of Commons homecoming. Poilievre lost his original seat in the Ottawa riding of Carleton. He will now make a play for a seat over 3,000 kilometres away in the Alberta riding of Battle River Crowfoot. This is thanks to Conservative MP Damien Kurek, who resigned from that seat to make way for Poilievre. This morning, the Prime Minister called a by-election for Monday, August 18th, putting him on track to return to the House in September. That is, of course, if he wins. To talk about that, I'm joined by Éric Grenier, the author of TheWrit.ca. Hey there, Éric. So to start, just give us the lay of the land. Tell us a bit about the riding itself of Battle River Crowfoot.
It is pretty much one of the safest Conservative ridings in the country, and it has been for a while. Over the last 8 elections, this riding has given the most vote. It's been in the top 3 of the ridings across the country that give the Conservatives the most vote. And in the last election, Damien Kurek got 83% of the vote. That was second highest percentage of the vote for any party, and of course, for the Conservatives in the country. The second place party was the Liberals with just under 12% of the vote. And to give you an indication of just how one-sided this riding tends to be, the last time any party had gotten at least over 10%, and it wasn't the Conservative Party, was back in 2000. So it's been a very long time since this riding has ever been competitive. You probably need to go back to the days of the PCs and social credit decades ago. When it comes to choosing a safe riding, Pierre Poilievre really couldn't have chosen much safer than this one.
We look at what happened in Carleton, though, which was in so many ways his riding. Yes, he had to be out in the riding a lot, but it certainly didn't go the way that he wanted, despite him having held it for a couple of decades. Is there anything about what happened in Carleton that should give Pierre Poilievre reason for concern about this by-election?
Well, I think that it shows that you can't take anything for granted. I wouldn't say that this riding is at risk of not going to the Conservatives this time. I don't think there is another Bruce Fanjoy clone that they can put up for the Liberals there, though the Liberals do have a candidate, which is interesting because there is that leader's courtesy that sometimes parties don't run against a leader that's trying to get a seat in the House. I think that what the lesson will be is that Pierre Poilievre needs to make sure he's spending enough time in the riding to put up a good number. I don't think it's a question of whether he wins or loses. It's about whether he puts up a number that's similar to what Damien Kurek had in the last election, because he is a parachuted candidate. He's from Alberta, but he's been in that riding in Ottawa for so long that he isn't a local. And we'll see how voters are going to react to that. It is a Conservative leader. The Conservative Party is very popular in that area, but at the same time, he's not exactly a local boy. So I think that is going to be the big question, is about whether he can actually match the number that Kurek did in just in April.
Well, and do you think it is a match, Éric? Is that what the bar for success is here? I mean, because it's Pierre Poilievre, there's obviously going to be more attention on this riding than there would have been in the federal election.
I think that at least if it's in the same ballpark, because it is very rare. It was in 2021 that the Conservatives underperformed in this riding. They got, and by that underperformance, I'm talking just over 70%. But that's because the People's Party got a big chunk of the vote. For the most part, the Conservatives get around 80% or more in this riding. So I think that for Pierre Poilievre, it's not to get exactly 82.8 or whatever it was that Damien Kurek got, but it's to at least show something similar. We just had a case of another Alberta leader trying to get a seat. Nad Nenshi, in a riding in Edmonton, was able to surpass Rachel Notley's score when he had a by-election just a week ago. So we've seen that it is possible for someone who's not exactly local. Nad Nenshi was a Calgary mayor running in Edmonton. Pierre Poilievre, Ottawa MP running in Alberta, to at least put up the same numbers, or at least similar numbers as a former candidate there. So I do think it is going to be a bit of a test for him. It's not exactly a tough test to pass, but if he does end up getting closer to 70 rather than closer to 80, it would raise a few questions about whether local voters were happy or not to have the Conservative leader parachuted into their riding. Okay,
and Poilievre, we have seen on his social media, he has spent some time in the riding. You noted the Liberals announced a candidate actually just in the last couple of hours, Darcy Spady, who grew up in Battle River Crowfoot and has some experience in the energy industry. I'm going to try to give him a little bit of a run for his money. But while Pierre Poilievre is focused on Battle River Crowfoot, tell us a bit about the national picture and what's happening with the numbers there.
I think that's the other aspect of the story, because while we've seen some polls that have shown the gap between the Liberals and the Conservatives has probably widened, I wouldn't say there's enough polls to really say that's for sure or not. We've definitely seen that Pierre Poilievre's numbers haven't gotten any better since the election. And in the case of the Nanos poll, which is the one that has gotten the most attention, the gap between him and Mark Carney on preferred prime minister has grown from only a couple points during the election campaign to 30 points. That right now Mark Carney has doubled the support as Pierre Poilievre on preferred prime minister. So we're seeing that from voters. A lot of them are not really seeing Pierre Poilievre as prime ministerial now that he's no longer in the House of Commons. A lot of those people who responded to that poll now say they don't know who they see as the leader. So I think that is the little extra bit of the numbers that he'll put up in Battle River Crowfoot, that if the local voters are still happy with him and want to see him as their MP and come out in big enough numbers, if turnout's very low, that won't be very good sign for Pierre Poilievre. In a way, we can almost see this as a little bit of a leadership review for Pierre Poilievre. This is conservative heartland, and these voters here have voted conservative, big numbers for a very, very long time. Will they do the same for the leader that just lost his seat?
Yeah, leadership review in August before the actual leadership review in January. But I certainly am interested to see if there's a knock-on effect from that by-election to the big leadership review. Listen, always great to get your perspective. Thank you so much, Éric Grenier, author of TheWrit.ca.